Welcome to This Explainer. I'm so pumped you're here. Today, we're diving into something way bigger than that dusty textbook you probably remember from high school. We are literally decoding the operating system of Earth. Seriously, biology is the ultimate troubleshooting manual for human survival. And I promise you, once you start looking at the world through its lens, absolutely everything changes. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we've got the study of life. Second, biology's real-world impact. Third, the 7 traits of life. And finally, nature's grand hierarchy. All right, part 1, the study of life. To understand this massive operating system, we've got to look at the blueprints. The word itself actually gives us a great starting point. Bios, meaning life, and logos mean the study of. But here's the wild part. Life is actually incredibly tough for scientists to perfectly define. It's so unique that you can't just explain it using only the rigid laws of chemistry and physics. So biology steps in to give us the actual framework to study this whole incredible phenomenon. Because life is just so extraordinarily complex, it's a lot to wrap your head around, scientists manage it by dividing the field into 3 primary branches. You've got zoology for animals, botany for plants, and microbiology for, you guessed it, microorganisms. And right underneath those massive umbrellas, you've got specialized areas like genetics, anatomy, and ecology. It's basically a highly organized way to study, well, absolute chaos. Now, what's really mind-blowing here is the sheer scale of time we're dealing with. Life on Earth kicked off roughly 3.5 billion years ago. The very first organisms were these tiny, simple cells, anaerobic prokaryotes, just surviving without oxygen in a ridiculously harsh, ancient world. And from those tiny beginnings, we get to this staggering number. Scientists estimate that today, thanks to the massive engine of evolution, there are anywhere between 10 million and over 100 million distinct species living right now on our diverse planet. From scorching deserts to deep coral reefs, that initial tiny spark of life multiplied into a totally breathtaking array of biodiversity. Moving on to part 2, biology's real-world impact. So why does all of this matter to us right now? Well, we are currently facing a ticking clock. The global human population is sitting around 7 billion. And get this, that number is expected to double in less than 40 years. How on earth do we ensure sustainable food production for a rapidly booming population without completely wrecking the planet in the process? Well, biology provides the exact toolkit we need to literally feed the world. To survive and thrive, we have to leverage biological knowledge. We're talking about producing high-yielding varieties of plants and animals. We need to engineer disease-resistant crops, and we absolutely have to improve our post-harvest technological methods so all that food doesn't just go to waste. But, it's a really delicate balancing act. Our natural resources, the materials and energy we rely on every single day for economic development, are incredibly limited. The harsh reality here is that our rapid population growth is constantly clashing with those limits, leading directly to the overuse and a major threat of depletion for these essential resources. So the crucial point is this. If we don't apply our understanding of biology to manage these resources properly, we are accelerating towards some disastrous environmental consequences. We're talking rampant environmental pollution, devastating loss of biodiversity, and expanding desertification. Biological knowledge isn't just an academic subject, it's our best and maybe only remedy for these looming threats. And of course, the battle isn't just out there in the environment, it's happening right inside our own bodies. Biology is at the absolute forefront of understanding and fighting deadly diseases. On one hand, we've got non-communicable diseases, things like cancers, heart diseases, diabetes, and chronic renal issues, like the severe CKDU problem in Sri Lanka. On the other hand, we're fighting communicable infectious diseases like dengue and AIDS. Biologists are desperately working on prevention, remedial measures, and cures for all of these. And this brilliantly illustrates how biological concepts don't just stay trapped inside a laboratory. They step out into the real world to solve some profound human and legal issues. Take DNA fingerprinting, for example. We use this biological tool every single day for parentage testing, high-stakes criminal investigations, and even solving complex immigration disputes. It's pretty clear that biology is doing the heavy lifting to keep humanity afloat. But to actually solve these massive complex problems, we have to understand the foundational rules. It begs the question, how do we even define what life actually is? What specific traits dictate whether something is a living organism? That brings us to part 3, the 7 traits of life. Let's walk through the first 4 non-negotiable characteristics of life. First, you need incredible order and organization, basically from the molecule on up. Second, growth and development. And that isn't just getting taller, it's an irreversible increase in actual dry mass. Third, irritability and coordination, which is just a fancy way of saying the ability to respond to stimuli in your surroundings. And fourth, adaptation, developing specific physical or behavioral traits to survive in a unique environment. The fifth trait, that is the engine of life itself, metabolism. It's the sum of all chemical activities taking place inside an organism. That means both catabolic reactions, which is breaking things down for energy, and anabolic reactions, which is building things up for growth. Without this super delicate chemical balancing act going on constantly, life just ceases to exist. And finally, the last 2 traits, reproduction, to ensure the continuous existence of a species, and heredity and evolution, meaning the passing on of genes and their genetic modification over time. Now, non-living things can actually mimic some of these traits, like crystals can grow, right? But only living things possess and display all 7 of these characteristics simultaneously. All right, let's move to our final section and see how all this builds together. Part 4, Nature's Grand Hierarchy. Now that we know the actual traits of life, check out this breathtaking scale of organization. It's like a giant puzzle. We start with tiny molecules forming organelles, which then build the cell. Cells form tissues, tissues build organs, and organ systems, eventually leading to a complete organism. And that organism could be a microscopic bacterium or a massive 100-meter giant sequoia. Those organisms gather into populations, which form communities, which create ecosystems, and ultimately combine to make up the entire biosphere of Earth. It is just awe-inspiring when you really think about it. From a microscopic molecule to the entire biosphere covering our planet, absolutely everything is interconnected by these fundamental biological rules. Understanding them isn't just some academic exercise. It is absolutely crucial for our survival. So knowing the incredible complexity and the really urgent challenges facing our world right now, what role will you play in the biosphere's future? Think about it. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.